achievement of his academic career was in the 3rd grade. He was the fractions champion of his row in his class. He told me that was the pinnacle of his academic career. That's impressive, Doctor. Without further ado, I introduce you to Dr. Ray.
I distinctly made a demand. I said I wanted to be introduced by a cardinal, or at the very least, a bishop. What do? They throw a priest at me. This is how you treat your speakers. Jesus, Moses, elderly-looking gentlemen were golfing. Moses steps up, hits the first shot. Terrible shot. Heads for the pond. Moses runs up. Water bounces across the bottom of the pond up onto the fairway. Jesus says, "That's a nice shot there, Moses." Elderly-looking gentleman's thinking, uh-oh, what'd I get myself into? He steps up. Jesus steps up. Terrible shot. Head straight for the pond, hits the water, and sits. Jesus walks across the water, stands, chips the ball up onto the fairway. Moses says, "You too, Savior." Fine shot. Elderly-looking gentleman is thinking, how do you compete with this? He steps up. Hits the worst shot of the 3. Slices 30 yards into the rough behind an oak tree. A few seconds later, a big gust of wind comes out, blows the ball onto the fairway and into the pond, where it sinks to the bottom. A carp scoops it off the mud, leaps the water, hangs at an apex like this while a starling comes out of the woods, flies by, grabs the ball out of the carp's mouth, flies 375 yards down the fairway, drops the ball onto the green. Squirrel comes out of the woods, nudges the ball into the cup for a hole-in-one. Jesus turns, says, "That's a nice shot, Dad." The part about the 10 kids is true. And that's why I'm here. It's quieter here and it smells better. People always ask me this. All right, now that you got your own kids, what have you learned? I learned something very critical. I don't take them out in public. You take them out in public, invariably they pull some stunt. Embarrasses the heck out of you. People know your shrink is worse. You can almost hear them thinking out loud, yeah, let's just see what Mr. Psycho Man does about this one. Many of you have raised your children. You know this. First 9, 10 years of life out in public, they embarrass you. After that, Pop, you embarrass them. Oh, man. Come on, Dad, don't wear the pants with the feathers. Dad! Don't wave at me when people are looking right at us, and I'm not going to pull your finger. I don't like what's happened to men out there. The men have been undercut. Your authority, your resolve, your strength in dealing as leaders in your homes. And one of the big reasons for that is standing in front of you, me, the shrinks. I'm everywhere. I've altered the way we look at everything. Crawling all over women's magazines, all over television, radio, putting out thousands of books every year. Net message, what are you? You're just a dad, you're just a grandpa. You can stumble your way along in your family, in your marriage, and your kids. Hopefully you won't foul it up too bad. But you want to do this right, the modern, psychologically enlightened way? Yep. Got to be state certified, congressionally mandated child development ring, Sacramento International on Oprah. Specialist. Many of you have raised your children. I'll tell you what I'm convinced of. Those of you in the generation above me, you were the last generation, in my opinion, across the board, to have instincts. You were. You operated out of a core reality. I am dad. You are not. Nowadays, we got people's heads spinning. Don't mess it up. Don't say things you shouldn't say. Don't leave him on the pot 4 minutes too long. He's going to grow up to be a tattooed-faced motorcycle gang member on acid on Springer. You named him John because you were hoping it would help in the toilet training. Bishop, your first name ain't John, is it? All right. Not even the middle one? I remember I was 3 years old. I looked at my dad. I said this. I don't like you. He looked at me. Raymond, you're a little behind. I stopped liking you last year. That was back before you could psychologically smack parents around, you know. One of my kids tells me I don't like you, so what? I got 5 or 6 who do. Any given moment, I got a 50% approval rating. My children are 25, 24, 23, 23, 22, 20, 18, 16, 16, and 13. Yeah, the remote broke. I told my wife, I said, get batteries. What am I going to do the next minute or two? Well, you got to talk a little bit. My 10 kids are all blessings through adoption. Now, I talked to some of you fellows out there. Some of you have your own adopted kids, or your children have adopted kids. Now, this is one of the great benefits of adoption that the agencies don't tell you. If you adopt in December, you still get the tax deduction for the whole year. Yeah. They pay for themselves that first year, then you start to fall behind because they eat more. But, you know, cut back on the food, you can break even September, October, somewhere in there. My wife and I have had this ongoing conflict. It has gotten worse as we got more children. Gentlemen, personally, I believe you will agree with me. First of all, my wife does not work for a living. I don't know what she does. You quote me, I'll deny I was even here. I've seen what the woman does. I want no part of what the woman does. She would take them to a grocery store when the kids were little. We had 10 kids under 12. And I would go. If I was heavily sedated, I would go. You had to see it. Strung out behind her like ducks. Hands at their sides. Not allowed to touch anything. And they wouldn't deviate 6 inches either way out of a straight line the whole 2 hours they were in there. No, they wouldn't. Leg irons wouldn't let them. I got 3 white kids, 2 Hispanic kids, 2 biracial kids, 3 black kids. People would look at my wife. Some of them were pretty bold. Is this some kind of club or something? Some of them wouldn't say a whole lot, but I could read their eyes. That major dork don't realize them ain't all his. I suspect her, but I can't catch her. Many of you have experienced